Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to do a project using an Altenew stamp set called Sophisticated Wreath. And then since it is Try It Out Tuesday, I thought we would try out a new to me stamping mat. It went back in stock. And so I thought I would give this a go. It just came delivered to my house, but this is a neat little mat. I'm looking for an alternative to my glass mat because I love my glass mat, but the glare from the camera, I couldn't fix it. So I've been using my Spellbinders mat, and then I've been using my black mat, and both of those are really nice, but I can't ink blend on those. So this is like a silicone mat, and the top is like an anti-slip surface, which is really neat. So paper or even your stamp sets here won't shift. Even my coffee mug here won't shift. So I thought we would just give it a try, and I'll let you know my feelings on it. But it's on the thinner side. The back has a grip, so it sticks to my craft desk. It's a 14 by 11 inch craft mat. It came rolled up in that package I showed you earlier. On the reverse corner there's centimeters. On the bottom here has inch marks. I wanted to see how it took if it stained, because it would drive me crazy if my mat stained. So I'm using oxide inks. I just sprayed a little water on it, and then I'm cleaning it up with a paper towel here, and it cleans up beautifully. So far it didn't stain. I should have used regular distress inks or regular maybe a pigment ink to see if it stained. That will be in the future. But I wanted to see how it ink blended, because the surface on top is a little bit not tacky, maybe a little gummy almost, but it ink blends beautifully. I'm using Mermaid Lagoon here. I'm going to add some water, and I think it blends beautifully. And my paper didn't shift too, which was great. Cleans up nice. Okay, I'm just testing it out with you guys, and we'll see how this goes. On my black craft mat, if ever I did get alcohol, if I use my alcohol markers, it stains my black mat. And then I use rubbing alcohol to clean it off, but sometimes I can't get all the ink off. But here, when I use rubbing alcohol, it cleans the surface of my mat beautifully. We're going to write the word hi here and see what it does. But it cleans up beautifully with alcohol markers, which I think is great. So far so good. I know when I used my VersaFine ink, this ink is tough to get off my stamps. I have to use a stamp cleaner sometimes, and so I'm going to add a little bit of that, and just using my chamois, I wanted to see how it cleaned up, and it cleaned up beautifully off the mat. Nice thing about this, and what I love, is my tape runner will not adhere to this mat. I tried adding some tape directly to the mat, and it didn't even have any adhesive. So I think it would work great for the adhesives. When I do use my black craft mat, adhesives do stick to it, and so it's you have to use COUGAR to get rid of it. But so I thought I would just share. So far so good with this mat. Anyway, I'm going to share with you the stamps set here. It's called the Sophisticated Wreath from Altenew. I don't think I've used an Altenew stamp set in a while, and so this was so pretty. But you know what I loved about it? The versatility of it. With the holidays around the corner, I love that pine needle and how it curves around to make a real beautiful wreath. So that'd be great for the holidays, but yet you have these beautiful floral images too that I thought would create a real nice card. There's two sentiments in the stamp set. One of them says live every day like it's Saturday, and then there's another one that says always be a dreamer. So versatile sentiments in here too, which are so pretty. Okay, we are going to do some stamping. So I thought, you know what, since we colored in that background, we're going to use that for our card today. That was just testing the waters on the ink with that background. But I thought, you know what, we'll put it to good use. I'm using 2 different shades of orange inks from MFT. I'm going to stamp our base image. These are layering floral images. So there's 3 layers to them. This is the first layer. I used persimmon ink. And then I'm going to go in with my orange fizz and stamp the second layer. And then the third layer is the flower centers, which is really nice. And they're very easy to line up, which is great. I think with a floral cluster like this, it's very forgiving. These would be really pretty with a lavender color or purple ink because they kind of remind me of little lilacs. I love the fragrance of lilacs. I think they're so pretty. But since I have a blue background, I thought orange and blue look really great together. So that's why I decided to color them in with orange. We're going to stamp them a few more times. I didn't align them too well, so I thought we would pick the best 2 out of the 4 on these images. We'll stamp the second one here. Lovely. Okay, for my flower centers and the third layer, I'm going to go ahead and stamp that with a darker ink. This is chili powder. And again, these are so easy to line up. There's little white areas where you can actually line up the flower centers. And we'll stamp those in all 4 of them. While I do this, I do want to apologize for the wound I have on my arm. I'm hoping, I tried my best to keep it out of camera view because I think it just looks awful. But I did some gardening over the weekend, and I have the gardening was pretty brutal to me. So I have a few little wounds from my gardening. I have some vines that have pricklies on them, and one vine is actually keeps wrapping around one of our pine trees, and so I was trying to remove it, but I got hurt, and I didn't really get hurt. It just got scratched, but it looks horrendous, so forgive me for not covering it up. I should have covered it up with a band-aid. I don't think you guys should have to look at that. But anyway, the florals are done. I'm going to stamp a few of the leaves, and then I'll take the coordinating dies. I did pick them up. The Stampin' dies you can purchase separately, or you can get the bundle. I chose to get the bundle, and I'll leave all of the links down below for you guys. But I'm going to die, and the nice thing about these dies too is they're separated for you. But I'll take the leaf die and then the floral die and cut out all my images. Just line those up. These 2 leaves almost look the same, but that one goes left, one goes right, and I like that there's dies that coordinate with it. Okay, for my panel, I'm going to just cut out a small square with the oxide ink panel that we created. I thought we would do a 2-tone, putting our sentiment on the very top portion of it. So I'm going to die cut out a little bit of the blue bottom area, and then mostly white, and then we're going to stamp our sentiment. For this card, I chose Always Be a Dreamer. I'm going to stamp with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink up in the upper right corner. We'll stamp that, and I think that looks great. We're going to go ahead and flip over our floral images. Oh, before we do that, in the stamp set, there's also a flower bud here. I'm going to stamp that with a MFT ink. This is Red Hot, and then I'll just use the green. I don't think I told you the green ink that I'm using. In case you guys want to know, the green ink is Sour Apple. But I stamped the stem to my little buds, my flower buds, and then we'll go ahead and add foam adhesive behind our best 2 flower clusters. And then we're going to kind of overlap them a little bit and put them towards the bottom left corner of our square panel here. We'll just kind of twist them and turn them so we can fill in that corner. And then I'm going to use my glue, and we'll attach a few of the leaves. We'll just tuck them right underneath our flowers. I think blues and oranges just look fabulous together. We'll add another one right next to this guy. And then whenever I do add glue to my leaves, normally I just add them to the very stem of my leaves. This way I can kind of curl up the edges of my leaves, giving a little more dimension. And then also I can also have a little more wiggle room with placement. Okay, for my card base, I'm using a standard A2 size card base. It's going to be a top folding card base, so I just score at 5.5 and reinforce that score line, and our cardboard base is ready to go. I'm going to add foam adhesive behind my panel, and then this is going to go on the upper portion of our card base. Before we adhere this though, I'm going to stamp that flower bud image one more time. But this time I'm going to stamp directly on my card base. I'm kind of using my little panel as a guide. I'm going to scoot it over so I can stamp it. And then when I did stamp it, I didn't stamp it too well, but it was pretty easy to line up. If you wanted to use your stamp positioner, I think it would work great too. But I just re-stamped it to get a more crisp image, and then we'll stamp the leaves right over the top here. And like I said, it's pretty easy to line up. Lovely. And you know what I noticed? I often do this. I'll put my adhesive back on my mat, and it's a little tough to pick up, but it didn't even stick. Since I removed the release paper from my foam tape, it didn't stick to my mat, so that's a good thing too. I'm curious to see if, like I said, the pigment inks will stain my mat. So, okay, I have a little ink smudge, so I'm just using my sand eraser to erase that. And now we need bells and whistles, so I'm going to bring in some Nuvo Jewel Drops. Now these will dry, they're tinted, but they'll dry clear. I went over the centers of the flowers. I used strawberry coulis, and then I added a little sparkle to the flower buds with White Blizzard. So that's my card for today, guys. I want to thank you so much for joining me. A nice little inspirational card. I wish you a fabulous day. Thanks so much for stopping by, and we will see you again real soon.